Good morning, everyone. It is February the 26th, and we've got a couple of stories to talk about for this upcoming week. One, we have warmer weather moving back into the Midwest and the Northeast. This will help to actually melt some of that heavy snowfall we saw in places like Providence, Rhode Island this past weekend. Again, you guys saw nearly 3 feet of snowfall in Providence, even heavy snowfall in New York City up to Boston. But a lot of that heavy snowfall is going to be melting over the next several days. The second thing we'll be watching this week is the next storm system moving through the Ohio Valley in the Midwest. Now, this could deliver snowfall into places like Indiana, Ohio, and then track off to the east into West Virginia and Virginia. Right now, there is the potential for a decent snow in places like DC and Baltimore. But within 150 miles of that, we could see a shift in the storm. That means places like Roanoke could see snow. And we're talking about maybe some significant icing in parts of the mid Atlantic. But now let's get into some of the details about when this will be happening. Now, just to start off things, we have a trough that's currently positioned along the East Coast, so anywhere east of the Rockies, and we have a ridge over the west. And one thing I want you to notice here on this particular map is the position of the trough, but then also the colder heights, right, in the middle troposphere, kind of beginning to track further to the north as we move through the week. And as it does so, we're going to see these warmer temperatures begin to move into the Midwest and the Northeast. So, moving forward in time from Wednesday into Saturday, you'll notice that these warmer colors move to the north. In fact, if we were to highlight this area of blue, which is indicative of these colder heights in the middle troposphere, much of this colder air is being confined into southern Canada and points to the north. And when we look at the temperatures on Saturday afternoon around 1 p.m. Eastern, we see that this yellow, which is indicative of 60s, is moving into parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, even into portions of southern Pennsylvania. And even further to the north there, we have middle 40s getting into parts of upstate New York, Connecticut, and even, let's say, southern portions of Massachusetts. And that means we're going to have significant melting over these areas that received the heavy snowfall this past weekend. But at the same time, we do have colder temperatures moving back into the northern Great Plains. We can even see some of these single digits around Bismarck, North Dakota, as we get into Saturday afternoon. Now, beyond Saturday, moving into the weekend, you'll notice that the colder air moves back into the mid Atlantic. And we can see this cold air wedge setting up on the eastern side of the Appalachians as we move into, let's say, Monday night, Tuesday morning time frame. And this is going to be significant if any storm were to develop along the East Coast as we head into early next week. But for the short term, at least, it looks like over the southeast, we do have some moderate to heavy rainfall moving into the Tennessee Valley, also into, let's say, the Midlands of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, even eastward into South Carolina. We're going to have precipitation amounts well over an inch in these areas. And we'll get to totals here in just a moment. But as we step this forward in time from, let's say, early Thursday morning, we can see that it gets into southern Virginia and North Carolina by Thursday mid morning. And then as we move through, let's say, Thursday into Friday, we see the reforming of showers and thunderstorms over parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. So, in a way, you guys will get two different rounds of precipitation from this system. And the rainfall will even reach as far south as Florida as we get into the weekend. So by the time we get to, let's say, Saturday morning, places like Tampa Bay, Florida will be receiving heavy rain and maybe even some thunderstorm activity. Now, just to highlight some of the precipitation totals from this event, we'll have well over an inch of rain in the Tennessee Valley. Let's say from Nashville to Knoxville. We'll probably have an inch to an inch and a half of rain here possible. And then another area to kind of highlight here is over, let's say again, the Midlands of Mississippi to, let's say, the coast of South Carolina. There's a large area there of over an inch of precipitation. Where you see these darker pinks here over portions of Alabama and Georgia, could see over 2 inches of precipitation between now and Saturday morning. Also of note, over central portions of Florida near the Tampa Bay region, another area could see an inch to possibly 2 inches of rainfall here. We have not really talked about the lack of rainfall in the Southeast, but we actually have a deficit of rainfall for much of the East Coast. So this is very beneficial rainfall for the Southeast. Okay, so what happens beyond Saturday? Well, as we get into Sunday, I want us to kind of focus in on the jet stream winds. We'll notice that they kind of peak out here around 110 to 130 knots, somewhere around 140 miles per hour in the upper troposphere. And what's important about this is that downstream of this, we're going to likely have the development of precipitation, again, over the Tennessee Valley, maybe the Ohio Valley, somewhere right in here. Let's kind of box that in. So, as this jet streak marches off to the east, the precipitation shield over the Tennessee Valley and the Ohio Valley will continue into the mid Atlantic. One thing that we need to take a look at here is the position of the high pressure system, which will supply cold air to the northern side of this precipitation shield, determining who sees snow, maybe even a wintry mix over the mid Atlantic. So, starting us off on Sunday afternoon, we can see this energy, let's say, in between the high and low pressure system here over the central plains. This is kind of energized by that jet streak we were just talking about a moment ago. Well, this is going to continue to develop and move off to the east with time, again, eventually getting to the mid Atlantic as we move into Sunday, Monday time frame. So, as we step this forward in time, we can see snowfall develop over the Ohio Valley. So, much of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, places like that, but then also rainfall on the southern end of it. And this continues to march off to the east, and we can see a wintry mix developing in some of these same places, right? Whether it be portions of Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky. We could see a wintry mix in terms of freezing rain and sleet mixing in with the snow, and even maybe a changeover to rain in some locations. Again, the thing to highlight here is the position of the high pressure. Where will that be as we get into the Sunday, Monday time frame? So, as we move through Monday morning into Monday afternoon, you can see how the snow begins to overspread, let's say, northern West Virginia, northern portions of Virginia, into DC and Baltimore. So this really could be problematic for anyone living from, let's say, Columbus in Ohio back to DC and Baltimore in the mid Atlantic region. Now, this area of snowfall could shift to the north or south, right, by 100, maybe 150 miles. This model here is not going to be perfect, right, being 3 or 4 days out, but just keep in mind if you live in this area, you could see a good 3 to 5 inches of snowfall as the system moves off to the east. And going from Monday afternoon, let's say into Monday night, you can see how the snowfall continues in this area. So it could be significant. Again, we could be talking about more than 5 inches of snowfall in certain areas. What could be even more problematic is that on the very southern end of this, into central portions of Virginia, we could see a period of freezing rain develop, even over Richmond and places like Lynchburg and Roanoke, Virginia. And even that continues into, let's say, Tuesday morning. Note that here in this particular model, the high pressure is off the northeast coast. But again, we have this cold air wedge moving down into the Carolinas and Georgia, right? Supplying the cold air at the surface for a wintry mix to occur. Meanwhile, off to the west, we can see over Missouri, there is an area of showers and possibly thunderstorms developing Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon. We also have rain and snow developing over the central and northern Great Plains, even over the Intermountain West in places like Utah, Wyoming, perhaps even northern portions of Colorado. Again, all these areas are in need of precipitation and especially mountain snowfall here in the West. But question marks do remain about this system, especially as we get into the Monday, Tuesday time frame. And again, the big player here is going to be actually the position of the high pressure. There is no strong low pressure associated with this. Again, we will have troughing over the east, especially east of the Appalachians, that will probably provide energy with the overrunning warm air. Again, we also have that jet energy, right, that's playing into the development of this precipitation. So, how much warm air will actually be pulled up from the south? Will the high pressure be, let's say, strong enough to kind of hold that position for decent snow totals over the mid Atlantic? Now, as we move from Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon, we can see that precipitation shield begin to bump up to the north. So now we have freezing rain potentially into places like Pennsylvania, again, Northern Virginia, and to Maryland, Even the DC area again, right, as we move into the middle portion of Tuesday morning. The people that live in the DC area could be experiencing difficult travel conditions even into Tuesday morning. I do want to note too, there's no indication of severe weather on Tuesday afternoon, but there will be showers and thunderstorm activity back through Missouri, Illinois, portions of Indiana. And again, I wonder if we get out to maybe Saturday, Sunday timeframe, if there is a slight chance of severe weather in this area, especially for that Tuesday timeframe if this does play out. If you look closely over Texas, for instance, you'll notice that we have this moisture plume coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. And that's kind of feeding into this area of Missouri to Illinois to Indiana, providing the potential for convective thunderstorms. So, what I've been showing you up to this point is the European model, just because long term it's usually more accurate than the other models that are provided. I do want to show you another take here of the storm as we get into Monday. You can see here over the state of Virginia, the GFS model, which is also called the American model, shows that the cold air actually goes further into the south. And we can see that snow shield actually moving into places like Lynchburg, Roanoke, even westward into Blacksburg, Virginia. In fact, if we take this back in time, you'll notice that there is a decent snowstorm projected by the GFS for Missouri to Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, parts of Pennsylvania, all the way into New Jersey, and perhaps as far north as New York City, back into Providence, and also maybe even southern portions of Boston as we move into Monday afternoon. Now, what I think will happen will actually be a blend of these two models. And I was looking at the AI model run of the European, which is actually somewhere in between these two that we just talked about. And the reason I like this model is this is more of a classic setup here of what we would see in terms of a mid Atlantic winter storm with a slow transition from, let's say, a wintry mix to the south. So you can see here on this map, it shows sleet and freezing rain basically over portions of Kentucky, West Virginia, into Southern Virginia. And then you get up, let's say, north of Roanoke, Charlottesville, that area. You see this change over to snowfall. Again, it could be light to moderate snowfall there. And that precipitation shield is kind of held to the south by the high pressure. And we can see where that wintry mix continues over the state of Virginia and West Virginia, parts of Maryland and the Delmarva Peninsula, even as we get into Tuesday morning. And this is a classic setup for cold air damming across Virginia and North Carolina, where we see that changeover from snow to sleet to freezing rain in these areas. And it's not uncommon from an event like this where you see a few inches of snow and that's packed down by sleet and then freezing rain in a place like Lynchburg or Charlottesville, even Richmond. But of course, nothing is set in stone with this particular storm. As we get into Monday morning, I'll have another video out about this particular event. And we will go live Monday afternoon if the storm sets up like this, where we're seeing maybe a moderate to heavy snowfall band set up over northern Virginia into Maryland, perhaps affecting travel in DC and Baltimore Monday afternoon into Monday evening. We could also again see significant icing over southern Virginia that impacts power outages, right, in that part of the state. And during Monday's video, I will let you guys know whether I'm going live that day, so please stay tuned for that. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like, it does help the channel. And of course, if you have any questions about today's video and what we discussed, just leave those in the comments below. Otherwise, have a great week, and I'll see you Monday.